Hey, welcome back to the show, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby, along with Jeff Girard, talking about your family's finances. Look, some of the best time to take Social Security. Everybody has an opinion on it. I just want you to know that, look, just last night, I'm watching one of the presidential candidates, and he's talking about, Social Security, we balanced the budget back in the 90s, and we did it. Look, whenever they say that, either understand that they might be ignorant or dishonest, because it's not a truthful statement. They took money from Social Security, replaced it with government IOUs, and spent that money. And then when it was all used up, they now borrow money every time they have to make a Social Security check payment to you once they run out of all the other dollars that we put in. It is not a Ponzi scheme, although I've heard people say that it is. But here's what a Ponzi scheme is. Gee whiz. They put money in, and then they use the new guys to pay the old guys money. The investment dollars that are generated aren't enough to make the investment last, so they use old money or new money to pay off the old money. What does that mean? It means simply this. For some of you, Social Security is about taking money sooner rather than later because you want to be sure that you get a check, because they're always changing the rules, and they have to change the rules. We have spent all of this money. It's gone as a nation. In the last 8 years, we have spent somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 or 12 trillion more than we made. Not 10 or 12 trillion, but 10 or 12 trillion more than we made as a nation in taxes. And that's going through some good times and bad times, meaning, in recessions, tax revenue usually draws back a little bit. So for a lot of people, they say, gosh, I'm just worried about the kids at soccer practice, and what am I doing this weekend? And I got to make dinner, and I got to make sure I finish the garage and all this stuff. Oh, and by the way, what the heck's happening in China and the devaluation of the peso, and how does all that matter to you? Well, it works this way very simply. All of this together, very clean and simply, means that you may not have a Social Security check the same way that your parents or your grandparents did. So know what those rules are. You have to stay on top of it. So if you're hitting age 50, 55, 60, 62, should you take a Social Security check? The rules may be different by the time you hit 62 than when your friend or your sister or your brother did a few years earlier, because the rules are changing that quickly. So just know what's happening the day you decide whether or not to take it, and certainly when you hit 62 years old, because that's the first time you're eligible, okay? So just know what those are.
And I think another important thing is to not wait until you're age 60 to see how many guaranteed sources of income you have. The more income sources you have will be able to tell you whether or not you need to take Social Security right at 62. You're eligible. Does it mean that you should take it? Well, it depends. If you have, let's say, rental properties that are producing income, or you have other assets that are bringing dollars in where you don't have to go trade your time, those aren't necessarily guaranteed, but you have streams, sources of income. Maybe you have some assets that are producing like annuities. You might have some guaranteed payments where that monthly payment is the same every month, and you can count on that. Maybe a dividend from a stock is not guaranteed, so you're not going to be able to count on that as heavily, but it could be one of the sources. But having all of these together make up your income. And so that can tell you, you can see well ahead, what's the steadiness of these income streams? Can I rely on them for the rest of my life? What if I live 50 years? I told you the story recently. My great aunt just turned 100 years old. I've never seen her work, and I'm almost 40. I've never seen her go to work. She has been retired for my entire lifetime. I don't know what she did. I don't know what she did for a living. I know she and her husband did well.
Does she speak another language?
She does. She speaks fluent Spanish.
Does she travel down to Central and South America often?
No.
Okay. I'm just saying, you said you didn't know what she did. There's all sorts of, she didn't look like a drug dealer or anything.
No. If she did, she put on a good front. Yeah.
She's a sweet lady.
Yeah, very
sweet. Scenes.
That's right.
I've seen people like that in movies. I didn't know they really existed.
They do. She does.
Be very careful, folks, about sweet little old ladies. You never know.
Yeah, especially 100-year-old ladies.
Yeah.
You don't know.
And have you seen her driver's license? So do you know she's really that age?
Now you have me questioning if she's really my aunt.
See that? So all of this really starts to boil down to be careful who you trust. Look, Social Security was never meant to be your source of retirement income.
Yes.
It was meant to be about a third, 25% to a third of your retirement income, meaning you're going to have your own personal savings. You're going to have maybe a pension of some sort, wherever you used to work, city, county, state, big company, have a pension. And then Social Security kind of acted like just the floor, barely enough. Look, if you're a poor guy, gal, trying to get by and you're just not sure you can make it, you know what? Social Security is going to keep you from living on the street. So it acted as the minimum wage for retirees.
Well put.
The problem is when you give a higher minimum wage, people are like celebrating, yay, the $15 minimum wage in California. What do you think? I mean, goodness, are folks that make these rules, do they just not get it? Are they, I honestly don't understand what 1 + 1 is 2, whether I'm a Democrat or a Republican, whether I work for minimum wage or not. So if you're going to raise 10 people's wages by whatever dollars from 12 to 15, and you're going to do that, no problem, wonderful. But those folks now, money has to come from somewhere. So usually you have to fire one of them. Now, is that guy or gal really excited that there's a higher minimum wage? And then you have to cut the other hours back at the other folks. You have to automate, or believe it or not, you just relocate. Cut back, automate, or relocate. That's about what they're doing. Look at Texas. 75,000 small businesses have left California and have gone to Texas.
Sheesh.
That's a lot of businesses in the last 10 years. So I share that with you because I want you to understand that all of these things are a push on the dollars. Because when you raise minimum wage, you can tax that at a higher rate. Did you know that? That means more of those dollars goes into the Social Security buckets to pay for the older folks. When you raise minimum wage, because workers' comp is a function of minimum wage, meaning the higher the wages go up, the more insurance premiums you have to pay to those dirty, evil insurance companies.
And they have employees too, don't they?
Yeah, the same insurance companies, by the way, that also own the health insurance companies. Did you know that?
Oh.
Very few insurance companies only do one particular area. They're usually part of a whole conglomerate, multiple types of, we call lines of business. So auto and home, in addition to health and life. So they might do all 4 of those types of things. So when they do that, what happens to the worker? The worker loses the money. It goes out in the form of insurance, and it goes out in the form of Social Security. So they do get a little bit, but also income taxes go higher. So the government is forcing their paycheck to go higher by taxing you. Look, if we decide that this is an okay thing, then just know if you're a retiree and all of these prices are going up because they're forcing this whole workers' comp, the whole minimum wage and other wages, right? If today I pay somebody $15 an hour because it's a mid-level manager and they supervise somebody that's $10 an hour, when the $10 becomes $15, what do I have to do to the $15 an hour? You have to raise that.
Give them a raise.
Well, what are they not doing to your Social Security check? They will not raise your Social Security check. So now, if I'm a pizza restaurant or a dry cleaner or a nail salon and I have to pay people more money, what do I have to do to your costs? I have to raise those.
That's right.
Because who's going to pay for the employees? Is the employer going to say, well, I guess I'm just going to make less money. I'm the one taking all the risk, working 12, 15-hour days. I guess I'm the one that's... No, they're not going to do that. They're either going to leave or they will raise rates. If they raise the costs, then you come in with your Social Security check to try to buy services, because remember, they will not raise your Social Security. If your Social Security is $1,500 a month or $2,700 a month, whatever it is, that's what it's going to be for a long time. But now the costs come up. So do not expect Social Security to be a big part of your retirement. I hope I made it clear and simple enough, but for you to realize that the costs have to go up. It might be the right thing to do. I'm not giving you a moral judgment on it. What I'm saying is just to understand what will happen and accept the consequences, or don't let it happen. Either way, it's okay, but just know what you're doing.
And the full range of consequences, because when things go up and life gets more expensive, what happens next? We start pulling more money from our savings. And where do most people take money out of their savings? From their IRAs and their 401ks or those type of accounts. And have those monies been taxed yet?
That's right.
So you see where we're going with this? There's a whole host of things that happen and multiple layers deep that not everybody has on their radar, and rightfully so. We're worried about or concerned with the things that are right in front of us, but yet we don't realize that a vote or a decision that we make or someone that we support can actually bring it full circle and actually cost us money. It's a lot to think about, and I think there's a lot of responsibility with it, so most people just go, eh.
So when we say you're building up your retirement accounts, those big dollars, I want you to keep income sources in reserve. Here's what I mean by that. You're now ready to retire, and you say, okay, I have this much money in 3 different accounts. I don't want you to turn on all 3 accounts today and start taking income out, because if you're retiring and you're 55, 60, 65 years old, statistically speaking, one of you is going to live maybe 30 years or longer. So if you can preserve turning on income from one of those accounts until later, as costs go up, you're going to need to have a pay raise. I remember when clients would come to us 20 years ago this summer, I started in this business. So that was 1996, June. And I remember having people that were retired, let's say 20 years, so 1976. And they would come and they'd say, oh, I remember, kid, and I retired at 55 and I had sold my business and whatever. And they sit down with me and their Social Security check was like $480 a month or $620 a month. Well, back in the 70s, that might have been a lot of money. It was for my parents, it would have been almost 2 house payments. Amazing.
Yeah.
Today, you can't buy 2 house payments with 1 Social Security check. You can buy 1 house payment. And I'm talking about here in Los Angeles. So that means this particular person's paycheck, his Social Security check, did not keep up with the costs. So keeping some dollars in reserve, keep that account off to the side, let it continue to grow, build it up, let it mature, if you will, grow, then turn on the income 6, 8, 10 years from now. And one of the biggest mistakes, and here's what happened yesterday, one of the biggest mistakes people make is they buy into the income idea, which I agree with, but they do it when they have to pay a fee. What was the fee yesterday? Almost $66,000 a year.
Wow.
59,800, I think, was a number, or right around $59,000.
That's fees.
Just in his fees. And he said, well, Arif, in 8 years, I'm going to be making X amount of dollars in income. That's nice, but the bucket of dollars is going backwards come heck or high water, but doesn't matter the amount, the company, at $60,000 a year. It's going backwards $60,000 a year. That's a lot of money, you guys. Now, you may not be paying that much in fees, but don't let the broker or land convince you that you don't have fees. Originally, this guy was told he paid $35 a year in fees.
Oh.
$35. I'm like, sir, that's not accurate. Let's make a phone call. When we made a phone call to that company, and it's not me saying it, we asked the questions, but it's the folks on the other side of the phone from the company. And they break it down, and I don't care how smart you are, how many MBAs or PhDs you think you have. These folks do this for a living. They're good at this. So be very careful if you're paying fees in an account and you're not comfortable with those fees, or it doesn't work for you. Make sure you know what you're doing, because you can make changes to that. It may not always be the easiest way to change it, but you might be able to make some changes. So keep that in mind.
And just think, if he had saved that $59,000 or $60,000 a year and not put that towards fees, that could have really bolstered up the payment on the other side. So I think what a lot of people do is they don't realize how much it takes or what a safe withdrawal rate is from their retirement accounts. Accumulation is one thing. It's scrimping, sacrificing, saving, and then you get to the place where, okay, you think, I can relax now, I can live and retire. Well, how much do you take out of your retirement accounts? How much do you take out? Well, some of these accounts will actually calculate that for you in some of these programs that we're talking about, and you don't have to pay a fee to do that. Although a lot of people on the forefront will say, here's a guarantee of X percentage for X amount of dollars. But people don't think in percentages, do they? They think in dollars, and they don't spend percentages. They spend dollars. Breaking that down, I'm sure, was probably a very eye-opening experience for that gentleman at to the tune of $59,000.
It was. I can't repeat on the air the words that he said. It was not a pleasant experience. Look, if you're making me $10,000 a year, I'll give you, or $10,000 a month in interest, I'll give you $2,000 a month. I don't care. It's never the fact that the price of what you're paying for something compared to the value, right? I'll give you $20,000 for a Ferrari, but I'm not going to give you $20,000 for a bicycle. They both are called transportation, but do you see there's value, right?
Sure.
I don't know if I'd buy a Ferrari, but I probably couldn't get in it because you have to squeeze down. But for the most part, your value of what you're doing and what you're getting needs to be thought of. You can't close your eyes, set it, and forget it, and trust these big Wall Street guys because, frankly, they don't care about you. That's not their job. Their job is to keep your money, not necessarily make you money. Okay, that's a different way of doing it. Otherwise, they would only be paid fees if they made you money.
Good
but
point.
they get paid fees to keep your money. So they'll use big words. Don't worry, it always comes back. The market always outperforms everything. Paying fees is normal. And they'll tell you all okay, wow, I guess so, okay.
But he only paid the $59,000 if he made money, right?
Not even, man. They took it no matter what.
My goodness.
Yeah, I feel bad. But look, you can fix things over time and you can make some adjustments. Just make sure whatever you're doing fits what you're trying to achieve. That's a big part of it. Okay, listen, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. I'm going to talk to you about some of the parts about insurance. Do you really need life insurance? I'm going to give you the do's and don'ts about life insurance, and you might be surprised as to when or how you should even have a life insurance policy. Because for many people, they don't even believe that it is worth it, and you might be right. We'll be back in just a minute. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby, along with Mr. Jeff Girard on AM 1220 KHTS. Yes. Hey, welcome back to the show. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. Okay, as you're preparing for retirement, you're kind of walking down that road, getting closer to age 60, whether retirement is just around age 60 or 62 or even beyond. What are some of the things that you have to do along the way just to ensure that you're not making a big mistake, especially with life insurance? Look, when you're young, the purpose of traditional or what's called term life insurance is simple. If you die, they pay, just like car insurance. It is not designed for you to have some massive amount of wealth passed on to somebody. It's really designed to give the replacement of your income or your presence, meaning if you are here on this planet and you provide income for your family and you pass away, gosh, the income goes, doesn't it? If you have a pension and the pension dies when you die, then there goes the income as well. So how do you prepare to leave money to your heirs, if you will, or to pass money on, but without spending big dollars? Well, term insurance is designed for that. Make sure that your kids are taken care of, etc. But now as you're approaching 60 years old, what starts to happen is the reason for life insurance to begin with is gone. You start saying, well, you know what? My kids are grown. My house is paid off or just about paid off, or we're going to sell it, take the equity and pay off a home that we're going to buy. When you start looking at all of that, really, you think, well, I don't need life insurance anymore. Well, you might be further from the truth than you believe, because the purpose of life insurance is often to eliminate or lessen the tax burden if you have a family business, if you have a large retirement account. Here's a good example. You may have $500,000 or more sitting in your 401k, or if you're a teacher or school research facility, yours is called a 403b. So you may have massive dollars sitting in an account like that. And when you do, is that money taxed when it is given to your beneficiaries? Yeah,
Yes, it is.
So we use life insurance to help offset some of those taxes.
And I think a big part is to remember that although you might have term insurance, it doesn't necessarily expire when that term is up. So for instance, if you bought a 30-year term policy, that just means that the benefit, the death benefit, is guaranteed to not go down, and the payment will not go up or increase. So that's a guarantee period, and that's why they call it, a 30-year term. Now, you can convert that policy into something more permanent that will last the rest of your life, and if it's built properly, you may not need all of that insurance. Let's say you have $500,000 in term insurance, so $500,000. and you say, well, I don't need all 500,000. Maybe I need 250,000. You might be able to convert half of that into another program and have it last the rest of your life. You don't have to requalify medically. Maybe something's changed for you health-wise, and you might not get insurance at all. You might not get an offer or be insurable in the first place. Or maybe your health's changed to a place where not only are you older, but you're not as healthy as you were when you bought insurance in the first place. So you might be asked to pay a higher rate. So in that case, conserving and preserving this policy might be the thing for your family's needs. So letting it just lapse and thinking it has no value because it's not a cash value policy, as you may have heard in the past, that's a misnomer. Term policies, definitely have them reviewed before they expire.
And here's what I have found also, Jeff, is a lot of people are taking advantage of the idea or the concept of selling your life insurance policy.
Yes.
Meaning you may have $500,000 or $1 million term insurance. Well, the time has come where you don't think you need it anymore. The kids have grown. Maybe, like I said, your house has been paid off. So what do you do with this asset? Do you just let it expire? There are companies out there that may entertain the idea of buying your life insurance policy. Look into selling it. Now, it's kind of a bit morbid. We have clients that have asked us about this in the past, and it isn't my favorite. I don't know. I wouldn't invest in it, but there are investors that do, and they pool money together. Let's say they have $100,000, and they split it up into 10 different places, 10,000 into different life insurance policies that is in turn given to you. So you may have, if you have $500,000 life insurance, and you're 60 years old and you say, I don't need it anymore, there are companies out there that might give you $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, I don't know, quite a bit of money that would go directly to your pocket. Whether or not it's taxable, you have to check with your CPA, but that can go directly to your pocket. And when it does, those are dollars that now come to you, and they take care of the payment on the life insurance. You don't ever do that again. It's gone.
Heck, even if it was $10,000, you were going to let this policy expire. All the money that you've paid into it,
right,
you don't get back. You didn't die during the guarantee period or while this policy was alive. So that means the insurance company's off the hook. If somebody gives you any amount of money for it, I mean, I would at least consider entertaining that.
Yeah, so there's a great additional source of income. If it's $500,000, don't expect to get $400,000, especially
Right.
if you're healthy and you're young. It's a function of, here it's a little bit morbid, but here it goes. The more ill you are, the sicker you are, the closer you are to your life expectancy, then the greater amount they will give you, closer to that face amount of the $500,000 or the $1 million, whatever the insurance is.
Right.
So don't think that you're not going to get anything if you're young and healthy and run triathlons, but out of $500,000, maybe you'll receive $50,000.
Right.
So it can be that dramatic of a number. But do your research on it. Today, the information is everywhere. I just want to prevent you from letting something expire that, in fact, you may end up keeping or wanting to keep. It might be the thing that you may already have other life insurance. You can do that. You can buy other life insurance, especially if you're still healthy. But if you're going to have it as an asset, before you just let it go away, consider having it sold as a life settlement, or depending on your illness, a viatical. Those are two different terms, viatical with a V, or a life settlement. So research those. That can be helpful to you.
Something else I think that's helpful, we talked about Social Security payments. Maybe a couple is counting on both of the payments to make up their financial income, their retirement income, and they're counting on a big portion of that. If one passes away, one of those payments goes away, the other spouse gets the higher of the two, right? We talked about that. But what about if you receive a company pension, whether it's a private company or a municipality, you work for the county or for the government? You have, in most cases, an option to take a very high payout or a lower payout with a continuation. What I mean by it is this: if you take the highest payout, option 1, or A as sometimes is called, you may get the highest amount that they're willing to give you based on your years of service, your age, the amount of money that they have allocated to that account, and they start to pay you out. But if you have 5, 6 payments or 2 payments and you pass away, your family gets no more money. So the advantage is, hey, I get a higher payment, but nothing comes of it if I pass away. If you take a lower payment, your lifestyle could be potentially reduced. And if you pass away, a portion of that money goes to your spouse or your significant other. So what some people do is they'll take the higher amount and they'll take a portion of that and they will buy life insurance with that. And what that does is it rents a bag of money, basically is what insurance is. And if you pass away, that deficit makes you whole, or that bag of money makes you whole for the deficit of money that's not coming in anymore. Because when you die, remember that your company stops paying you the pension. But if you have that life insurance money tax-free to your spouse, that's a pretty nice replacement there.
Yeah, part of the process of life insurance being received by the folks is saying that you can leave, and this was passed in the budget again just recently and reaffirmed, you can pass on your retirement account to a charity or a nonprofit, a church. And you can do that, and it's a credit against your estate, meaning by checking with your CPA or your tax attorney, make sure you do this. But here's the concepts. Leaving your retirement account to a charity means there's no taxes that your estate pays on that, nor your children or your spouse. But right. When you pass away, the life insurance on the other side is given to you tax-free. Mm-hmm. So let's pretend for just a minute. Providence Holy Cross Hospital, one of my favorite places on the planet, believe it or not. They make such a difference in the lives of so many people. They do such good things that how can we build it so that our lives make a difference in that organization even after we're gone? Well, I think you can leave part or some or all of your retirement account to a place like that. And when you do so, you can specify, I want it to go to the emergency department, to cardiac, to neonatal. You can have it go wherever you choose. But in doing so, when you pass away, that big lump sum goes to them, and you don't have to pay taxes on it. Under current law, that's over. But your life insurance goes to your spouse, your children, and they never have to pay taxes on that money. What a huge difference, isn't it? That means your life that went from a huge $500,000 or $1 million taxable hit, nothing. Very important you realize this, because that can benefit you and your children later on in life, especially as you get older. Life insurance can have a different job to do. It can allow you to fulfill a foundation, maybe even begin a scholarship fund. So using life insurance is part of your assistance. Another good example, an organization called the Boy Scouts of America. You've heard of them, right? They teach young men how to become strong leaders, and even young women. There's a co-ed group called the Explorers, and that group teaches young men and women how to fly. Oh, imagine that. Of course, backpack. But the ethical and moral choices in life are done through a great organization, and you can leave money beyond your passing to service them as well.
Another part to this is you may have an account that you want to benefit multiple charities or multiple organizations. You can split that up too, and you can have one account that's designated, and you say, look, my family's going to be okay. I have enough life insurance. We have a pension that's continuing to my spouse. We have some other monies that are in the bank, and we're good. But this money, it's not really going to benefit because my family, because they're good, and not to mention they have to pay so much tax on it. We want to set it up to fund 3 different charities or 3 different scholarships or 3 different organizations. That's a wonderful gift, and you can do that. So the idea is that once you do it, as long as it's not an irrevocable gift, you can change this or add to or take things away if you need to. So it's pretty flexible, and you don't need necessarily a trust, but you always want to talk with your financial team on that.
Folks, look, one of the key components is knowing what questions to ask.
Right.
And for a lot of people, they don't even know that these things can exist. They don't even know what's possible. And I want you to figure that out as you build your retirement life and your future, to realize retirement isn't just a moment you pass away and just wait around to die. Retirement is about building a life where you can consistently serve those that you want to serve, make a difference in the world, so that your future is not just about consuming stuff, right? It's about enjoying life. So make sure you get out there, take those princess cruises, take those trips out where you're doing great tours and excursions so you can enjoy life. Thanks for listening. We're going to continue next week at this time. Stay tuned after the top of the hour. We have some amazing shows as the rest of the afternoon continues. I'm Arif Halaby. That's Jeff Girard. You can always get a hold of us at hometownstation.com. You can always click on Total Financial Solutions. And me, Arif Halaby, will answer those questions. We'll see what I can do. Jeff Girard, Arif Halaby. This is Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.